Um, yep. Yeah, I'll just get things started. Yep. Welcome everyone to this week's open floor discussion on the 2nd of September now, which is really cool because we got big SIP coming. Yeah. So I'll quickly go over today's update and a bit of updates on CAP, and then we'll have Mike giving us a bit of update on his ecosystem DAO and safe transfer. And then we'll open the discussion to anybody got anything on their mind, and plus a couple of things I want to give people an update on as well, or bringing up as a discussion point. Yeah, okay, so SIP. So just for those who, I think most people in this room know, just in case somebody who's here the first time, here it's a place where we give inform the community where the status of all SIPs are, whether it's an early stage idea or is a late stage, like ready to be ratified. And here is a place where you can also advocate for your SIP, that, you know, if you think that's important for the community to know, or you want that to be pushed forward, or, you know, you need to own that SIP almost a little bit, or at least to put it into people's awareness. And yeah, if you got any ideas or any general improvement you'd like to see, here's a place where you can also share it as well. Yeah, so yeah, just on a top level, so top level wise, so we actually got a ratified SIP last week or this week, SIP 16. So yeah, well done to Fridger and Dan for getting that through, and a big shout out to Dartman as well for helping us to collect the 10 contracts. So yeah, so really good news. We got that ratified. So yeah, and SIP 13 is ready for CAPS review. I believe that's waiting for Aaron or a few other. And actually, we got like a team of CAPS now that can really review this as a new part of the process here. So yeah, I look forward to deploy the technical CAP to review that. Yes, so 618, that's in activation in progress, and SIP 19 by Raphael. Next week we actually, oh no, in 2 weeks I actually invite him to actually sort of give us a bit of talk about his SIP, let us know what it is and how is it going. So yeah, so look out for that. So yeah, 16, you can find this SIP 16 standard on github/stackgov/SIP. So yeah, please go and take a look. Yeah, so we got actually a new proposal from Marvin and Mike on safe transfer. I think this is a slight improvement to SIP 19, SIP 9 and SIP 10. So we'll get Mike to talk about that a little bit. A few other things like Fridger stuff on authentication protocol, and a bit of just to inform everyone that previous week's videos, they're all linked in GitHub now, and also I've linked them on Stacks forum. So yeah, feel free to take a look. They're all on YouTube. Yeah, so that's the sort of early stage stuff. And some other discussions going on. Bitcoin derivation path, that's also an important topic. They'll probably bring back a bit later. And also, if anybody wanna chime in on any improvement to BNS, feel free to jump on Stacks forum. So all these conversations are on Stacks forum. Any feedback from the CAPS or any community members, please feel free. That's the best place to get your voice in officially. So yeah, previous week conversation, we've held like things to do with derivation part, stacks mining. Last week we had Maddie to talk about mining proposals to make stacks more more decentralized. So these topics are really great. So that's really a big reason why you should come here. You will get informed about many great topics. So and I'll just give a very quick update on the caps. So we actually got a good team now, and I just sort of reiterate where the caps fitting in the overall process. So the caps, it sort of fits in the middle. Basically, you have the early SIP, like where Mike is at right now. And then it gets reviewed by editor, who will find more editors for that. And then it gets reviewed by the caps, and then it goes to steering committee and stuff. So that's where the caps fit in. And we need different experts from economics, ethics, governance, technical diversity. And these are the people who are gonna be advising the community and the steering committee, whether they think this particular SIP coming through the pipeline should be included. So just to let everybody know who we've got already. So we actually got 22 people now. So we've found all the caps, because a cap should have a minimum of 3 people. But for technical cap, we got many more eyes now. Diversity, ethics, governance. So we got really assembling like the best people in stacks and long-term stackers. So anybody interested, or if you think I missed you out, or if you think someone is suitable, please let me know, or let Jenny know. We'll be happy to see if we can include you guys into these caps. So yeah, that's the updates from me, and I will leave the floor to Mike. And Mike, I think you can share your screen.
I'll share my screen. Hi everybody. Sorry if you're at the community call yesterday. This will be a tad repetitive. Which screen is that? So you can see that safe transfer slide. Yeah, so as Hiro was saying, actually this is the first SIP I've put forward.
If you drag it over the PowerPoint, we can't see it now.
Can you see that introduction with the diagram?
No.
Oh, no. Was it the other screen? Was it that one?
Yes, yeah, now.
Okay, great. So I've got 2 screens, so I wasn't sure which one I was sharing. Yeah, so I think this idea has been knocking around for a while, and this is a kind of just to make it safer for intermediary contracts to call into SIP 9 and SIP 10 contracts. So that's the background for this safe transfer standard. And I think basically what happened was, so I think Marvin's been incubating this, and I've just worked on writing this up with him. I think what happened was that when the marketplaces started getting going, the original standards kind of just left a gap where it forced a marketplace contract to change the context of the transaction center using as contract, which created a kind of a vulnerability for them, which meant that like a malicious NFT contract in the middle could exploit them actually calling its transfer assets that they owned. So this is really just to tie down that loose end. This document is now been submitted as a pull request. So this was quite interesting, actually going through the process of submitting a SIP for myself. I've learned quite a lot from doing that. I'll come back to that in a second. So all the information is basically here if you're interested. And there's the actual traits that are being suggested are transfer safe for SIP 9 and transfer safe for SIP 10. So it basically just includes this check that the sender is the contract caller. So this means that the contract caller, if it's an intermediary contract, doesn't have to change the context using as contract. Are there any questions before I move on about that? I think it's pretty straightforward, and I think probably most people are fairly aware of this. So the pull request is now in GitHub. That was quite a journey to figure out how to actually create a pull request for this repo. I hope I've done it right, but I guess I'll get comments about that. The other part of what Hiro asked me to talk about is the other projects I'm working on with Marvin. These are the so Marvin and I kind of just built this SIP18 message forum, which we're just kind of rolling out and testing. And what we're doing with this is kind of building it a way where it could be a standalone app, but it could also be pulled in as a npm module onto anybody's website, and of course it'll be open source. And you can basically verify that the message has been signed by the user who's posted it. So that's what this is about. So it's quite interesting. If you're interested in this, it's just at chat.stacks.eco. And we'd love to have any comments there if you fancy leaving a comment or a suggestion. And so that will probably be integrated at some point with the other project we're working on, which is this ecosystem DAO project. This is, we haven't engaged a designer yet for this, but I spoke to somebody this morning who will be helping with that. And the motivation for this project is kind of all about supporting SIPs, really. So the main, the site has two main areas. One is to kind of demystify and simplify and present SIPs to the community in a way where they don't have to kind of go into GitHub and wrestle with GitHub. So you can see this is a view that's just pulling the information from GitHub, and it just displays it. At the moment, it just links back to GitHub. We can create like a homepage and display the information that Hiro was just showing for the cabs here. So we can create a kind of portal for the SIPs and for the cabs, and that's kind of what we're looking at here. This will be linked to a SIP content management system. And then the other part of this is the DAO project, which is backed by Marvin's Executor DAO. So this is a DAO where we're just looking to really create more interaction and more engagement with voting on SIPs. It's got lots of other use cases, but the big one we're looking to be ready for is the 2.1 rollout in October. So you can see here we've kind of set up some votes to test. This is all on testnet at the moment, but the actual site will be on stx.eco, and hopefully we'll integrate the SIP18 forum that we just showed you. So for example, the voting's ended on SIP safe transfer, but the idea is that we can put a proposal into a contract. So this piece of information here is basically pulled directly out of the Clarity contract. And then we're waiting to conclude this vote. And you can see I think I voted 200 and Jason voted 199. So we're just exploring test cases and edge cases in it at the moment. The way you can deploy a proposal through this is quite simple. So we've got either what we call no-op proposals. So we can kind of create a contract that's templated from this information. So if I press update, you should see this change. So this is a no-op proposal because it just executes OK true when it runs through the DAO. So it doesn't actually perform any actions in the DAO. So we can, if I click that, you can see this will go off, and it's actually created contract with that text in it. So this information here is the basis of the actual vote, and it will be stored on chain. And then for more advanced use cases, there's a way of uploading actual contracts, which so this is a proposal that would impact the DAO. It would enable some extensions. This one's actually been run already. So this is enabling snapshot proposal voting and funded proposal submission. And that's what we're testing at the moment, actually. So there's an example here. So you can put forward a proposal, and then we'll kind of think of a way of enable it to be crowdfunded. So we can actually sort of try and get some support within the community for the proposal, for actually passing the proposal before it's before voting actually begins. So how the actual numbers for this, well, I've just put in 10 stacks on testnet to see how that goes, but that could be anything. So if I fund that 6, we can see we can get that proposal passed, and then voting will start in a window of voting. I think that's all I had to say here.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for the presentation and an update. Yeah, so looking great. So maybe I'll just open the floor to people to ask anything about safe transfer or ecosystem DAO. So yeah, if anybody wanna ask anything about it, please just unmute.
I just want to, excuse me, I just want to throw a shout out to Mike for all the hard work on the ecosystem DAO stuff. I've been seeing him move at an incredible pace, and it's been really fun to follow along and play along and test what's going on there. But this idea of crowdfunding a proposal is really interesting to me, actually, because then you have the ability to set a threshold so you don't get completely spammed with submissions, but you're not limited to one person being able to propose or take an action. So I think that's the way it's been working out so far is really cool.
Yeah, I agree. Thanks, Jason.
Anybody else? I mean, I can ask a couple of questions, maybe. On the topic of the ecosystem DAO, maybe I'll go from safe transfer, probably easier. So who are the people like who might be interested about that SIP? Who are the stakeholders?
I think it would be NFT marketplaces and I guess automated market maker contracts. So contracts that call into FT and NFT contracts to move assets around. Anything that calls into a contract to transfer fungible or non-fungible assets around. They'd be the main use case. I think what they have to do at the moment is if they work custodially, as in if they transfer the asset to themselves before they allow it to be sold, then they have to like check the contract before they can interact with it and put it on a list, an allow list of some sort.
Will for example, like the project owner, like Megapon, like, or any new project deploying like a new NFT contract, would they need to know that? Or is it more for the marketplaces?
Yeah, exactly. I think that's right. I think anyone deploying an NFT contract would include this function in their contract now. So they'd implement the safe transfer if they wanted to ensure that marketplaces could safely transfer their assets. So if they want to be interoperable going forward, I think that would make sense.
Cool. And maybe just another question for the people at home and a bit of due diligence for the community. So what about, is any risks to any risks that you can think of? What about like any worst case scenario? What could happen if, I don't know.
I don't think so. I think it sort of just makes the transfer, safer as it implies. The risks are without having this, it's possible for an NFT contract, say, to transfer assets out of the marketplace that it doesn't own. So that's the counterexample.
Okay. So when can people start using it?
I guess once it's if it passes the process, becomes a
What about
ratified.
any activation criteria that maybe you can let people know?
Yeah, I think I put some activation criteria in the SIP. Yeah, I actually said so. An affirmation by snapshot voting. So that's one way of a new way that we'll be able to have activation criteria. And then I said maybe implementation by at least one marketplace contract. But I think that requires review. So that's like the opening gambit, I suppose.
Okay. And any comment from Jude about activation criteria?
Not yet.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, sorry, go on, Jude. I didn't realize you were there.
Asking, because it seems the SIP is a recommendation of how to structure the public functions transfer safe with the extra guards for contract caller and TX sender. Somebody who wants to use the advice in this SIP, there's not really yet a programmatic way to verify that they are doing so, for better or for worse. What that means, the activation criteria for this are a little bit different from other SIPs, where you can just look at the chain and see if there are smart contracts that implement the trait. But it shouldn't be too bad. You could just manually inspect other SIPs and verify SIPs that implement the trait, and then further verify, that they're doing these extra checks.
Yeah, it's a good point.
Cool. We've got a question in the chat. J2P2, do you want to ask a question? Or should I ask for you? Okay, I'll ask for you. So he said, how to ensure that safe transfer function is implemented correctly by any contract and not just confirming to trait.
Yeah, I think that relates to Jude's point, doesn't it? That you actually have to inspect it. But I think I guess the point is that the transaction would fail now if the marketplace contract tried to call safe transfer and it wasn't implemented correctly. It would mean that the transaction would fail because but yeah, I think manual inspection maybe is the only way, because it'd be difficult to do this programmatically.
Cool. Yeah, okay. I do have actual question for ecosystem DAO as well, if anybody else is okay with that. So I guess more from because we actually got a big SIP coming up, guys, and the SIP is Stacks 2.1 upgrade. So just in case some people may not know that's actually a SIP, and it's going to be SIP 15. And so I just want to check with you, and maybe to everyone, and maybe including Jude, are we actually using your ecosystem DAO voting for Stacks 2.1?
I don't believe that's the case right now. I'm open to doing that. Like the criteria that we would have for activating a hard fork, it doesn't particularly matter the exact details of how we do this, but the criteria are that if you're stacking, then you should be, and that means that you have a vested interest in the system's long-term endurance. And that would mean that if you were a stacker, you would be able to vote for activation. And the way we did this for SIP 12, which we're going to draw upon the experience of, I think, for SIP 15 in the proposal, is that if a certain fraction of the total amount stacked votes, and if of that voting fraction, like 2/3 or more vote for activation, then the SIP will be considered activated. Open to pushback and feedback or better ways of doing it. If that's something Executor DAO can handle, then that's totally fine. If not, then we're prepared to write our own scripts and programs to help make this happen. Last time we did this, what we did was if you were stacking, you would just send a small amount of Bitcoin from your stacking address, your Bitcoin reward address, to either a yes Bitcoin address or a no Bitcoin address. And they were just two different burn addresses that were slightly different. I think one was like, all zeros ending in a 1, and the other one is all zeros ending in a 2 or something like that. And then from there, we can inspect the Bitcoin chain and the stacks chain and figure out how much stacks those transactions represented. And then from there, tabulate up the votes. We had 2 separate people implement the vote tabulation software to make sure that the algorithm the votes were correctly tabulated. So like I wrote a script that did this, and Thomas Osman of Fungible Systems also did so independently. And we just made sure after the fact that we were receiving the same tallies. So that's just to make sure that we got it right. If we can do something like that, where we have like multiple independent vote checks, and also if we can agree on the same activation criteria, then sure, there's no reason why we couldn't use the Secular DAO.
Yeah, and I guess it's important to say that the voting that we're using at the moment is snapshot voting. So it's the you can vote with the balance of your address at the time the proposal was made. Right.
We would the reason we didn't do that for SIP 12 using snapshot voting is because if holding stacks isn't enough, as far as we're able to tell. Sorry, there's noise. Because a lot of exchanges, for example, hold stacks in liquidity, or a lot of day traders do this, and we don't consider individuals who are not stacking to be sufficiently interested in the long-term success of the chain. But that was just a judgment call we made at the time. It could be wrong, and we're certainly open to pushback.
Yeah, that's interesting thought though.
Well, I know we were pretty inspired by that too in the CityCoins community, and we've used prior stack cycles and states as how we capture our voting in our CCIPs, and it's been pretty easy to do though. Like I still see an advantage to having something in Clarity that can access things like the POX contract or address balances and similar. But obviously it's, as long as timelines align and it's not too crazy to ask for, but I could see it being used.
So Stacks 2.1 will have the new Clarity built in that lets you query how much stacks a user has locked. So that way you can get not only their liquid balance, but their locked up balance. And that would make doing this sort of thing in the future more tractable within a Clarity contract, as opposed to through an external program that looks at the chain state.
Yeah, that's good to know.
So would it be ready, or maybe it's for the next time?
I think what Judy's saying is if we were to use ecosystem DAO for the 2.1 vote, we'd need 2.1 to be able to check whether the address was stacking already programmatically within the Clarity. But it's possible that we could use it alongside other voting methods, or we could use it anyway. But I guess that's a question that's open.
Yeah, that's an open question.
I don't know. I think I didn't think about that before, but yes, stacking of those people who are stacking and can vote if they stack sounds good to me. I don't know, but sounds like sensible anyway.
Yeah, I think it's, as Jason said, it's just how complex it is to do it before the 2.1, whether we'd be able to do that. So
off the top of your head, do you think if we were to say you checking if you're stacking and vote, is that possible to get ready, or do you think that will take more time, therefore we might miss the window?
It doesn't. I'd have to look into it. I wouldn't know off the top of my head. I don't know how.
I actually have the POX contract up in front of me because I'm looking at it anyway for something else. Okay. But I'm curious, Jude, if we just did an @block to get stacker info, similar to how they're doing the snapshot now, like would we be able to see stacking like at a previous block height or at a measure that would give you the info you need? Like, does that give us enough?
I'd have to double check. Let me go pull it up right now.
Yeah, it pulls from the map stacking state for the stacker. I just haven't tried it with @block before, so it'd be a little experiment there.
So I think the reason why we didn't do this last time, looking at get stacker info, is that we wanted if it was the case that you were not stacking right now because you're in a cooldown cycle, then that would mean that get stacker info would return none for you with the current block height. But sure, in the previous block height, then yeah, that should work. That would give you the stacking info back.
So it would, in theory, be possible to take an address and see if it had been stacking within a range of blocks.
Yes, but it's not the Bitcoin address though. The reason the voting process for SIP12 used a Bitcoin address is because that way it made it so that if you had any Bitcoin wallet at all that you wanted to use, be it an exchange hosted wallet, be it a wallet on your computer, be it a Trezor or a Ledger, what have you, as long as that was the same address as the one that was linked to the POX contract when you stacked, then that would be the one. Then you would be able to prove that you owned those stacks tokens just by sending something from that Bitcoin address.
Yeah.
Get stacker info requires you to send in a stacks address, or the principal that did the stacking, which is different from this, which would mean that there would still need to be a way to link the that stacker back to the Bitcoin address.
Yeah, sounds like we'll be on this if this is possible.
I mean, you could, right? Like, I guess because get stacker info returns the POX address that you used. You could furthermore check that that POX address is the same as the address that's sent to the yes or the no burn addresses. But that check, though, you would either need to verify within the Clarity contract that that transaction exists on the Bitcoin chain and was mined, which you could do. It's expensive, but you could do it. There's already code written for it. I think Ellen Swap might use it right now. Or you could just try an off-chain program that does it. Either way is fine. You can determine the same thing in both cases.
Yeah, so I think the answer is maybe. Yeah.
That's good. That's maybe it's better than a no. So
Maybe.
For me anyway, is say a community member. I think as long as in long term we're trending towards that more easier way to vote, easier access, because I think still right now, if you ask somebody to do a Bitcoin transaction, because all they know is to use Hero Wallet, so or Xverse. Can I vote from Xverse Wallet because that's got Bitcoin in there?
Yeah, exactly. As long as it's the same address you stacked with. Like by that I mean, like when you did stacks and you put in a Bitcoin address, it has to be that particular Bitcoin address you cast the vote with.
The one Xverse is using, which is the SegWit one, is that going to be okay? Yeah, because okay, so in the case of determining this off chain, it's totally fine because we can figure out from sorry, let me back up a sec. If they're using a SegWit address, that's currently not possible, right? Because the POX contract doesn't support SegWit. Oh, okay. Yes, that's so coming. Some other address. Tax component one, yeah. Xverse runs a pool though, right? Oh, Jason.
Sorry, what was the question?
Xverse runs a pool, right?
Yes.
Yeah, they currently run a pool. It's Bitcoin rewards. And generally you would stack with your stacks and get it right there in that Bitcoin wallet, but I do think you have the option to specify another wallet if you choose.
Right, so as long as you can control the Bitcoin address, then you can vote with the stacks that are stacked to it in SIP12. In SIP15, we're gonna try to make it, so one problem with SIP12 and the way we did this, not really a problem, like a limitation, was that if you were stacking in a pool, the pool operator had to decide on behalf of all of the stackers in that pool on what the pool would vote for. This time around, we'd like to make it so that individual pool participants can vote independently. And to facilitate that, this might be where Executor DAO might come in. To facilitate that, we would use a similar tactic that we did on the Bitcoin chain, but on the Stacks chain this time. So if you send from your Stacks account a small amount of stacks to either a yes address or a no address, which is again something you can do from any Stacks wallet, then as long as that's the same account that is currently stacking, then we'd be able to figure out from there that, okay, well, you stacked this many stacks, you sent you did a vote to a yes or a no address. Therefore, this number of stacks has voted it according to whatever address was paid. So that might work. You could potentially use executor DAO to handle votes from pool participants.
Yes, yeah. We'll be looking into it, Jude.
Cool.
Yeah,
Awesome.
for sure.
So as a user, can I just, if I talk through my experience, I can I can connect my wallet to this executor DAO or ecosystem DAO in the backend. I don't mind what it is, but as a user, I can connect my wallet, and I just need to spend like a fraction of STX to an address. That's it, and
Yeah.
that will cool.
Any amount is fine. It can be the smallest possible amount. It just has to show up as a transaction on the chain.
And it'll get burned and picked up by the miner.
Yep, you specify a recipient address that's just hard coded to mean yes or no. If you do it through the smart contract, the DAO smart contract, it can take care of doing the tabulation right then and there too.
I think that's massive. I mean, so the two scenarios, like somebody who hasn't stacked but still made the transaction, that vote just wouldn't count and wouldn't be verified. But whereas somebody else who's stacking using that address voted, that will get counted as a signal.
Correct. We would use get stacker info both in the current reward cycle to see if you're currently stacking, or in the previous reward cycle to see if you're just in a cool down period right now, but you had recently stacked. If either one of those is true, then however many stacks you had stacked, whichever is greater, like maybe you're stacking multiple times, we would count those as the vote in this case.
I don't know about you guys, but I feel this is huge. I can just vote with my stacks wallet. Yeah, okay, that's great. So just following on from ecosystem DAO, another function that we were talking about with Jude also is actually, I'll just let everybody know. I think Gina is here too. Hopefully, Gina, where's Gina?
Hey, yes, present.
Yeah, we are very lucky to have Gina on the steering committee alongside with Jude, and Jude can step back from all the caps.
Hooray.
So yeah. So yeah, great to have Gina on board and helping us. And we will be looking for more caps. More steering committees and more caps. And steering committee wise, adding steering committee, we were also thinking leveraging ecosystem DAO, because if we can vote with our hero wallet, like who would be good to be on steering committee? Maybe some people want to step forward, or they want to nominate themselves. Nominate themselves, or maybe other people can recommend somebody to be on the steering committee as a steward for the whole of stacks, overseeing the direction of stacks. That's what we were hoping, that we could even use ecosystem DAO to do that, Mike.
Yeah, sorry, I muted myself. Yeah, I mean, that's certainly possible. So it all, I mean, really, what we talked about, the 2.1 vote depends on the criteria of ensuring that people are stacking in order for them to be able to have a vote that counts. But it might not be the case that criteria is required for that kind of voting. Like, why would an exchange get involved and vote on? I don't know. I mean, that's another debate, I suppose.
Yeah. But we can vote for people, right? With ecosystem DAO. Yeah,
you've got this kind of no operational option of a vote in ecosystem DAO at the moment. So you can word a proposal and then open it up to people to vote on.
Yep. What do people think about this idea?
I mean, it sounds good to me. We should devil's in the details, but I think we can work something out.
Yeah, and also recently a conversation about a board observation. I thought maybe, if we were gonna have ongoing board community board observation guy, like the Ragnar guy who put himself forward. So I thought maybe anything governance like that could also leverage the ecosystem DAO.
Yeah, that's certainly possible. We would want to think really hard about the criteria we have for voting to make sure that, whales can't just dictate everything, but I'm sure we could figure something out.
Yeah, I mean, they're the kind of discussions that we've been having, which is why we've gone with snapshot voting at the moment.
Yep.
Yeah, I think executive DAO as a framework is incredibly flexible. So if we work out what the criteria are, I'm sure we can make, between me and Marvin and Jason, we can make executive DAO do what is needed in terms of voting. I think it's probably the harder problem is deciding what the actual constraints are, or what they should be, and what everybody can agree on.
Cool. Yeah, so maybe anybody got any other topic they want to bring up? Okay, so I have one last little topic on the topic of voting. I thought about increasing voter turnout. So let me just share my screen quickly. I'll just take 2 minutes. Sorry, guys.
Oh, Hero, sorry to spoil it. Is this the fun idea you had yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay. I was going to say we can give a little more context before you go into that too. So obviously a goal for us for this vote is to get a higher turnout for the 2.1 upgrade vote. And there are obviously lots of comms that are going out to make sure that the community knows that it's happening and understands what's happening. So one of the goals that Hero and I are working on is just getting this quarter, since the vote isn't happening until October or so, is we want to get an indication of the number of people who are planning to vote. So we're planning to do something like send out a survey with some questions about the upgrade itself, and then a question about whether you intend to vote. So we should have an estimate of the number of people who are 2.1 upgrade literate and planning to vote. And then alongside that, we wanted to put out some materials that we thought would be helpful for people trying to understand what's happening. So whether that's videos or articles, the foundation's already coming out with a lot of comms, and other entities are as well. But if you have ideas for what would be palatable and accessible to you, or for the wider community, let us know. I think we're planning to send out a survey like that later this month, right, Hero? We're slated to do that later this month. And then on top of that, Hero had this really great idea for increasing awareness and also increasing turnout. So I'll pass it back to you.
Yeah, cool. So yeah, just so anyway, so it's just something I thought of this week. So last year we had only 28 votes, and that's, I think, for an ecosystem this size, I think we can do better. So anyways, and there were some challenges. Actually, we just talked about it will be solved. So great, we can just vote the Hero wallet. But in addition to sort of this actual voting, to get people more excited, I thought, what about if we get PFP saying I voted something, but which will probably require going to some place and maybe upload the thing, and then it doesn't have to be on chain, in my opinion, and just gives a new little logo thing to add to your social profile, so it can be a very socially engaged sort of period, and it'll probably drive traffic to marketplaces if marketplaces were on board with that. But yeah, so I thought maybe it can look like this. Well, this is not the design, right? I'm just sort of giving the concept that design can be anything. So yeah, just like a little stripe somewhere on your profile to show you voted, I thought that might drive social engagement and more likelihood of better voter turnout. That's it. What do people think?
Love
Discuss.
it. I'm in favor. We should totally do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can do it. We don't have to be like right at the moment we vote, but I mean, we should definitely like make an effort to do this. Builds credo.
I haven't seen other crypto people do it, but
That's their problem.
yeah, exactly. I mean, we could be the first one. Gina, what do you think? Oh,
Yeah.
Gina.
I feel like any ways that we can sort of increase the word and get more folks involved, I think that'd be awesome.
Feel free to leave feedback or anything. DM me any ideas you've got. We can just find some artists, do a bit of that sort of. Yeah, so let me know. Can I just check when the voting period might be? When and how long? Approximately.
It'll probably be 2 weeks, like the duration of one reward cycle.
Mhm.
That's I think what we did last time for SIP 12, but I could be misremembering. It's been a while to look at the text.
Yeah, that's what we've been using too in City Coins, and that 2-week period or 2,100 blocks seems to be like a nice amount of time that anybody can participate as long as the knowledge is out there.
And is the voting about sort of October, November time-ish?
Yeah, we would. So there's a couple things that have to happen still, whose ETAs are not yet set in stone. We have to reach code completion on the implementation,
Yeah.
and we also have to finish writing, drafting, recommending, and getting the SIP punched up to the point where it can be recommended. And that would require the inputs from at least the governance and technical cabs. So once both those two things are in place, like that in turn, I'm sorry, getting the SIP to recommended status also includes making sure that the activation section is to everyone there's liking. So that would include any work that has to be done with ecosystem DAO, whether a decision on whether or not the NFTs are awarded at the moment of voting or after the fact, whether or not having the artist available to produce them either now or later is a blocker. But I mean, I'm sure we can work all that out. Like at the end of the day, like owning the NFT is the important thing. We can choose what it looks like later if we need to, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I didn't catch whether you said hero, but we were also thinking of using SIP 13 as the NFT. So everybody gets a share of the same NFT for the vote. So each vote has like a particular NFT that people get a share of.
Yeah.
But that's just an idea that we were knocking around with. I think it depends on SIP 13 ratification though. So we're probably putting the cart before the horse again.
The NFT implementation would probably need to make it so that it's not transferable, so you couldn't just resell them later.
That's
I
a
think
good
the term
point.
people use for that is called a soul bound NFT or something like that.
Yeah.
Cool.
I think that might be debatable. If you restrict the NFT from being sold, it will definitely lead to lower value, and so it might serve as less of an incentive for people to actually get it.
Well, it's kind of like an I voted sticker. It's not supposed to have value.
Yeah, but having something that you cannot sell is it really ownership, right? So
Yeah, but that'd be terrible then. All you're doing is incentivizing people to show up to get something they can resell as opposed to having an opinion about the system.
I look at it kind of like a badge, right? Like people who've participated in this vote contributed to a major decision, and maybe over time you'd want to see that folks have a history of having actually participated in these decisions. So, you know, someone's like seasoned and knowledgeable about stacks.
You like having a Woodstock 69 sticker on your van, that kind of thing.
Or a Woodstock 99 sticker.
Maybe not 99.
Yeah, okay, just because we're a little bit short of time, so I will just let everybody know that since we have Jude and Gina now on steering committee, and we're gonna start end of every month, we're gonna have, as I think Jude agreed as well, to have a steering committee sort of meeting or SIP call, but it's hosted by the steering committee. So end of the month, every month, end of the month, Friday. So it's same time, 11 EST, 11 a.m. EST. Yeah, I think for November and December we might have to move the date a little bit because of the Thanksgiving and Christmas. But yeah.
Yeah, and that would basically cover the same sort. It would cover like a discussion of what SIPs are currently, in the pipeline, and if they're ready for activation, it could be like a way to celebrate the activation of it there. We're still figuring this out as we go too, so we'll find ways to use the time.
Yep. Yeah. Thanks. Great. And also, and we were talking about asking all the CAPs to attend that meeting. Yeah.
Oh, Hero, last point. Gina asked a good question about where we can continue discussion around this NFT idea. So maybe that's on the forum. Maybe you can post on the forum about it, and on Discord as well. And we'll just suggested that. So yeah, where can people go to contribute to that idea?
Currently, we have a SIP channel, which is currently limited to certain roles. So I think for something like this, I don't know yet. What do people think? I don't know. What do people think?
I think that the forum is there and has all the SIP tags, so we can start there. And if people are really dying to have a live chat, we can consider something for Discord.
Yeah.
I think you end up with a better record on the forum. At least it's easier to read through than trying to go back and find past chats and other things like that. So it's I would say the forum.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'll make a forum thread, and maybe get out to Twitter to get people to help them direct the forum to comment.
Cool. And
yeah.
To your point, Hero, about having the last steering committee meeting be a requirement for cabs, this is related, but because we're still in the process of activating all the cabs, one thing that we're hoping to do is have a dedicated Q&A session for all the cab members around 2.1. We're trying to have that either next week or the week after. Jude's the first time you're hearing about it.
That's fine. Sounds like a good idea to do anyway.
Yeah, we'd like to do that just so the cabs are also ready to post their own comments or their own just recommendations around the upgrade to help inform the wider community. So keep an eye out for that. That might be the agenda for next week, right, Hero, or maybe the week after.
Yeah, so the plan is next Friday. And in the meantime, I'll get them to put their names officially on GitHub. So you might see some names coming on the SIP CAP GitHub thing. Yeah, so yeah, next Friday, if Jude is around, then yeah, I think a good time for all new CAPS members to come on call and understand a little bit more. Yeah.
Yep, I'll be there.
Cool, cool, cool. Sorted. Great. Yeah, that's it from me today. I think. Anybody else? Cool. Yeah. So yeah, look out for in the short term, we'll be getting all the caps activated. All these people will get their names on. There will be. We were thinking about, because the SIP is not written yet, but in order to sort of preliminary activate them, but maybe they can post an initial thought based on the blog post, and they can just publish their comment about early comment, I guess, and that would serve as a sort of a way to activate them. What do you think about that, Jude?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, cool. Anyways,
As long as we have a paper trail for it, it's all good.
yeah, okay, great. Yeah, that's it. Thanks, everyone. We're on time. So
Thanks, Nero.
Thanks, Kira. Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
thanks, Mike.